it feels like when you're out there in the summer and we got one of those bug zappers just zapping bugs, mosquitoes. That's basically what's happening to me. Anthony on Air podcast. So happy to be with you. We've got some huge McAfee news, an autopsy already delivered. We'll give you the results here on this episode. Plus, when the Ghislaine Maxwell Jeffrey Epstein connection happened, that Ghislaine Maxwell documentary continues to premiere on Peacock, and we're getting dribs and drabs of some old information repackaged into new information. We'll dive into it. Michael Lindell is back in the news. He was on with the great Alex Jones. So we'll dive into what transpired there. Also, Olympic hammer thrower Gwen Berry is making some news after what she did during the National Anthem. Everybody seems upset at Toyota for their political donations. So we'll dive into that, and we'll watch a Russian guy feed a bear in minus 10-degree weather. All on this episode of the Anthony on Air podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Frankie C, Jsabs, not with us tonight. I will share where they are. It's actually very important, and we could use your help. I'll save that towards the end. Hang with us. Appreciate you being here as always. Let's dive right in to the McAfee autopsy. So this just coming out moments before the podcast here, new released autopsy results confirming that John McAfee took his own life inside this Spanish prison while awaiting extradition to the United States. I mean, what did you really expect was going to happen? I mean, this is basically par for the course. Similar to what happened with Epstein, it wasn't until we had that independent autopsy come in that we had some different information on what exactly happened with the neck area when you're dealing with this sort of thing. And it's not obviously an optimal situation. There's not a lot of surfaces to do that kind of thing in most prisons. But that's what happened with Epstein, and I basically figured that that's what's going to happen with McAfee as well, and it looks like that's basically where we're at. So the preliminary coroner's report confirms the initial determination by local authorities that McAfee did indeed hang himself in the prison. This according to the newspaper El País. They reported that today. McAfee's family, which is questioning whether or not he did this to himself, has requested a second independent autopsy. The paper also reported that they will obviously get it. There's no reason not to. It'll be interesting to see if that is if it's going to be like Epstein, where we're going to have contradicting autopsies, or if that's going to go along with this first one that came via the coroner. Sources close to the case revealed earlier on Monday that McAfee's note in his pocket had a note with in his pocket when the guards found him and tried to revive him. We still do not know what was on that note. McAfee 75, as we know the whole story. We've done 2 episodes on this prior. We'll put links in the description if you're watching on YouTube. And of course, if you're listening via the podcast, just go back a couple episodes and see first the news of what had happened. And then we dove into the discovery of the note in the subsequent episode after that. Again, like I said, I'm not surprised here. This is essentially what you figure was going to happen. That this would be the situation. I tell you what, I've been enjoying the comments on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook over the last couple of days. I referenced Chris Cornell in a previous episode when I talked about the fact that, McAfee's wife said that they had spoken and he didn't seem suicidal and everything seemed fine. And I said, this sounds like a similar story to Chris Cornell. And a lot of people piped up and said that Chris Cornell, they don't believe, did it to himself either, contrary to what has been widely reported. And it's funny because I remember covering this. I was on the air on radio at the time on a rock station. So we did a lot on Chris Cornell, which was devastating to most. But I do remember theories going around that he too was about to expose some massive, Epstein-esque ring of child trafficking, things of that nature. So I do recall all that. Thank you to everybody for reminding me of those stories. The thing is with this is, and I think I said this back on the first episode, it's going to take a while to kind of figure out and piece together what has transpired. Obviously, when the note gets into whatever hands it needs to get into in order to be made public, that's going to offer a bit more information, whether it was written by John himself, whether it was written by other people. Again, once it's in the hands of his wife, family, writing analysts, people that can analyze whether or not handwriting is similar or, things of that nature. We're not going to know. So we have a long bit of a journey on this one, similar to Epstein. I mean, we're 2 years or so removed from Epstein, and we're still talking about Epstein on a daily basis on this podcast. So this McAfee thing is way too intriguing to let go. We will continue to keep our eye on it. As I said, any news that is broken, we'll have it here for you on the podcast. So if you're enjoying the McAfee stuff, make sure you're subscribed on Facebook or YouTube, or of course on your favorite podcast. If you like listening to the podcast, we're on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, wherever major podcasts are available. I think that we're going to learn a lot about McAfee over the next couple of weeks. I think that, we'll get a second autopsy, at least. Who knows? Could be more than that. I think we'll see what's on the note. And like I said, have handwritten analysts in there to see if it was really written by him. I also think that we're waiting on the cameras of the prison to see if there was anybody in or out. The guards, as we've seen, a la Epstein, played a huge role. Where were they in the situation? Have they made all their stops? Had they made all their patrols, their tours? Had they checked in on him when they were supposed to? He wasn't in the high security sort of situation that we see Ghislaine Maxwell in these days, but certainly, all cellmates, all prisoners are checked on at some point or another. Again, I don't suspect that he had cameras in on his cell, but I mean, cameras down the hallways, there's going to be certain things there to just take a look at and see. A couple things I've been thinking about over the last couple of days too is how he got caught. We talked about this, and again, you can get my stance on this. I feel like there's something here, something more than it seems. I'm not entirely sure he did this to himself. Certainly, this is like got conspiracy written all over it. There's that aspect of it, but I was thinking about this too. With all the people that have committed a crime here in the States and who have fled to other countries, France, Spain, wherever, Mexico, the Caribbean, Dominican Republic, wherever they're going. The amount of people that are still at large, right? The amount of people that are still, they've never been found. The fact that, or their whereabouts are kind of known, but there's no extradition treaty there in place, or whatever the case may be. The fact of the matter is, there's a lot of people that are running around that have committed serious crimes, way more serious than just flat out not paying your taxes. And they've gone on for years without being found or extradited back to the United States. And this guy was found this quickly. I mean, again, we were talking about this, on previous episodes, how this whole thing is fishy and stinks. But, when you have a couple of days to kind of like let it marinate, and like I said, I've been reading some of the comments, have been awesome. Keep them coming. You think about it, how did they find this guy so quickly? Now, I know he was on the run for a while, staying on the boat. They found him in this hotel. We talked about this on the previous episode. they found him in this Russian-owned hotel in Spain that he was mining Bitcoin from, and when you call, you can't get anybody on the phone, that sort of thing. All right. Supposedly not only the authorities, but fans, I guess you can say, were analyzing his Twitter to see what was like in the background to try and piece together, language on, whatever, cups, signs, whatever he had going on. So that was happening for a little while. So I'm sure, like, if his fans were analyzing these photographs, trying to figure out where he was, the authorities were doing the same. But I don't know. It feels like this is like incredibly fast for somebody, again, who just didn't pay taxes. You know what I mean? I never want to leave myself totally open to the criticism of being a conspiracy theory guy, right? But when you look at this, it's like, how is Roman Polanski, never been taken to task for what he did, and yet John McAfee was nabbed, in a short period of time for not paying his taxes? Like, the more that I let that kind of sit and marinate, the more I was like, man, there is something seriously suspect about this. Like, did they just stumble upon him? I have a hard time, kind of believing that. Did he tweet something that was so obvious? I mean, obviously, like I said, I've seen some of the tweets. There would be like I think there was like a cup in one picture with some Spanish on it. So they kind of were able to sort of narrow down a little bit where he was. But the fact that the the Barcelona authorities moved in so quickly and were able to get him, and then, agreed to extradite him to the United States just for not paying taxes for a little while. It seems very odd. Now people who don't like the conspiracy theories are going to be like, well, they caught him. What were they going to do? Agreed. What were they going to do? He broke the law here. They got to send him back here. Understandable. But again, it just kind of seems, and I get France is a different situation, referencing the Roman Polanski thing. But again, it just kind of seems very strange and odd the way it all comes together, that this guy would be picked up so quickly and then he would be found in his cell. The three things, again, to wrap this point up: cameras, note, additional autopsy. When that information comes out, we'll have it for you right here on the podcast. Because I mean, frankly, I'm as fascinated by this as I am all the dirt that's been uncovered about Bill Gates, and again, the Epstein Maxwell situation, as that has just captivated my fancy, and we've been following that now for quite a while. And again, just so everybody is well aware, this is not... Sean Atwood does a phenomenal job at all this. He's a true crime guy. I think he's very talented, but this show is a podcast, and we're not a reporting show. We're not a true crime show. We talk about everyday topics. We try and bring some information out there, but also some humor and some fun. And that's what this podcast has always been for as long as I've been doing it. When Frankie's here and Jsabs are here, it's a laugh Friday. It's always a good time. I always enjoy it, even when there are some serious subjects that are talked about up at the front of the show. But usually as we go on in the episode, we kind of have a lot of fun, and that's what we do. So, if people are looking for straight up information, go to Sean Atwood, because he does a phenomenal job. I feel like the guy's got to be depressed as shit talking about all this awful stuff all the time, which is why we don't do what he does. We try and have a little bit of fun with it all. So, keep that in mind, as I saw a couple of people who shouldn't be criticizing anybody throwing some criticisms around there. All right, Epstein Maxwell. So this Peacock documentary continues to dive into some of the things that we know and some new information that has come to light. This we kind of already know that Epstein and Maxwell knew each other a bit longer than what was originally perceived. I think previously we had spoken about on this podcast that Epstein himself did actually know Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's father. We don't know what the nature of that was, how they came to know each other, or what the date was exactly that they started to have a relationship, a friendship, whatever, a professional relationship. I don't know. Epstein trying to pass himself off as the financial whiz. And then, of course, Robert Maxwell was a big media baron, so had a lot of money to throw around. You would assume that that was the connection. He had some money to invest, and Epstein was there. Maybe somebody introduced him. I don't know what the case is. But we had kind of seen some of these reports prior that these two did know each other earlier than we had originally assumed. And this documentary, what it's done is it's sort of solidified that we now know that probably in the late 80s somewhere, Epstein knew the Maxwells, and that's where that relationship started to forge itself. And again, this is not, terribly breaking news, but it gives you a little bit more, it paints the picture a little bit deeper on how, to use the phrase again, how deep that relationship really was. You know somebody for 5 or 10 years, that's way different than when you know somebody for 30 years. And this idea of maybe Maxwell will speak up or, give up the information, turn on Epstein, kind of gets a little bit harder when you look at the fact that she's known the guy for 30, 40 some odd years, probably closer to 30 than 40. But it is super important to acknowledge that this documentary, Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's Shadow, that they're basically confirming this information, cross-referencing all of these interviews that they're doing along with court data, depositions, all that kind of stuff. And they're getting to a point where they can narrow it down and be like, yeah, these two knew each other going way back when, that Epstein and Robert Maxwell most likely knew each other. And of course, obviously, then, Ghislaine and Epstein knew each other earlier than we thought. I did find this interesting, too, again, to paint a picture of Maxwell for those that are unfamiliar. The producers, the directors, the people responsible for the documentary, they were doing an interview, and they were basically saying that, of all the people who knew Maxwell, came across Maxwell, knew her relatively well, one of the things that they were able to confirm was that she was always an enigma. That she was always one of these people that even the people who knew her well didn't really know who she really was, because she would always put on like a different persona depending on who she would be around, which again is not breaking shocking news, but I think we all kind of have like a friend or know somebody who's kind of like that. And I think people that are, and I'm not saying all these people are wrong or bad people, but I'm just saying that people that are like this tend to be, I feel, a little bit more available to do bad things and be able to hide them. People who are like, they're this way with these people, then they go with these group of friends, and they're that way, and then they're always kind of acting different, always kind of morphing into somebody else. They're hiding something that they don't want people to see or know. And I feel like that's this feels like par for the course for who Maxwell is. You can't really nail down who she really is. She's always acting, differently depending on the crowd that she's in. People that have known her for a while are saying, yeah, she was always, this was always a weird sort of a thing. You couldn't really peg her down, say this is like the type of personality that she is. That kind of a person could probably hide horrific things like, what we're basically talking about. They also said that there was this sort of, again, getting into the psyche of it all, psychological thing where Maxwell having the kind of relationship that she had with her father, him being a really strict guy, stern guy, she would transfer that over to somebody else quite quickly. And that obviously makes a lot of sense, it being Jeffrey Epstein himself. Researchers for the documentary also believe that long before Robert Maxwell's death, Epstein was busily building his high profile contacts and those names in his notorious Little Black Book from Ghislaine's own friends and acquaintances. So again, we talked about Wexner being kind of really the only person that you can't put in the Ghislaine Maxwell camp that Epstein had his grips on, and everybody else was sort of being built up from this relationship between Ghislaine Maxwell or the Maxwell family. So that's the latest on the Ghislaine Maxwell situation. By the way, as we get into the Mike Lindell situation, don't forget AnthonyOnAir.com has some gear for the podcast here. You buy a shirt, you buy a mug. We've got them all. The Show Me Potato Salad line, the famous microphone line right there. We've got Janine's classic That's What She Said. My favorite shirt right now, I think, is the Legalized Comedy shirt. I've been wearing that around town a whole bunch. I don't wear the shirts on the show a lot, but I do wear the shirts around town. They're super comfortable, especially the long sleeve shirts. You see our 1994 shirt right here. This is one of my favorites too. It's got that classic 1994 sort of grunge. What is that? The little labels used to put on everything. Got that grunge label look right there. Love that shirt. Very, very comfy. All the gear super comfortable. You grab some gear. You're supporting the podcast, so we can keep giving you the good stuff here on the show whenever we can. Appreciate you guys for doing that. Let's talk about Mike Lindell, this crazy son of a bitch. I mean, he is just still rolling. He was on with Alex Jones, and he said, and I'll play you the audio, and I quote, that there's going to be a cyber symposium. They didn't have the date nailed down yet, but first or second week in August, where he is going to reveal a bunch of information about the election, and it is going to make people say, wow. There's a couple of things I take issue and umbrage with here. Mike Lindell continues to be just absolutely batshit crazy. But I'll play the audio for you because I also find Alex Jones's response pretty interesting as well. So here's Mike Lindell on with Alex Jones talking about this cyber symposium. Here you go.
This place will hold 5,000 people. It's a 3-day event. We're going to pass out the packets. Here you go. And every single person, by the time they leave, even within an hour, they're going to go, wow.
Do you know the date yet? Because I'm coming. This is what's the date?
No. This is what I said. We're going to announce right around the 4th on the dates. It's probably going to be right around the 10th, 11th, and 12th of August. I will have that date, and then what we need everybody to do.
Thanks for giving me a general area, because I was going to go for a week with my kids at the beach in early August. So I just want to know, because I'm going to plan my vacation around this. This is important.
This place will hold 5,000 people.
Alex Jones is going to plan his vacation around this groundbreaking, massive announcement from Mike Lindell that is going to expose the truth around the 2020 election. A couple of things I find super interesting here. I was chatting, I wouldn't say friends, but some people that I touch base with on occasion, who believed quite fervently that the election was stolen. Even them have started to sort of come down off of this idea that the election was stolen. And their basis is, and I wonder, and I'm always open to your opinions, is that here we sit in June, it's almost July, and still no pertinent evidence has really been put forth. And I know people get upset with me when I say this because they're like, well, do your research and look at the thing. But come on. I mean, look, all the court cases were thrown out. The all Congress certified. I mean, we can just go up and down the list. Like, I got to stick to reality here. Where there's some irregularities, of course, every election has them. You know, dead people vote in every election, have been since Kennedy won the presidency, right? These things kind of always happen. Ballots are lost, hanging chads. We've always had something, but we have a decentralized, election system, which basically, for the purpose of that, means that you can't go in there and hack the whole. I mean, it would be very difficult to do it. Is it impossible? I don't think so, but very, very difficult. And look, believe me, I feel like I'm a very open-minded person. I sat through the stupid Newsmax thing that he did. I watched that friggin' thing for 90 minutes. I thought the one guy he had on, who he himself lost an election in Boston, or he was running for, I forget what he was running for, assembly or it was some minor. It wasn't like state assembly or something like that. It wasn't it wasn't a federal thing. I thought he had some interesting points, that one gentleman. But everything outside that was complete and utter fluff and horseshit. And, he's showing that the thing came from China, and he just animated like lines going across a map. I mean, just, utter stupidity. Utter stupidity. I mean, I got friends in marketing that could put that animation together in 15 minutes. And I could stand here and be like, look, you see, here's all the, I mean, it's not real evidence. It's not real evidence. But you got to admire the guy. Thank you. Live podcast. You got to admire the guy. He's sticking to his guns. He's lost his company's in shambles, right? I mean, nobody wants to touch or go near the guy. I'm surprised even Alex Jones is still sticking around with him. But he's sticking to it. Now, here's my thing. What's the new information that you have that you didn't have when you did the Newsmax thing just a few months ago? Like, what is this new information going to be? And are we really going to believe you after that Newsmax thing was such a complete pile of horseshit? And if you really, really, really had this information, wouldn't you just put it the hell out? Because I know that as we grow the Anthony on Air podcast from what started out as a little local Long Island, New York thing, and has budding into a national and international thing, which I'm very proud of, to have audience in England and Australia, and everybody's been super friendly. Canada, even foreign weird places like Oregon. As we grow it, if I stumbled upon some juicy, spicy information like this, you better damn well believe that I would. Now, this is just honest truth. I would put this shit out as fast as possible. And that is the truth. So for anybody thinking that Mike Lindell really has something here, I'm sorry, but I have news for you. The way this works is get it out and get it out as fast as you possibly can. Why? Because you don't want somebody else coming across this information and getting the scoop on you. The only currency here is to get to this first, because if you have information, somebody else is going to be right behind you with that exact same information. So if you really had stuff, you would not be like, hey, come buy a ticket. There's side number 2 of complete and total horseshit, and that this is more entertainment than fact or reality. Come buy a ticket. We're having an event. I'm going to sit on this for the better part of a month and a half so that you can come join us in a physical location, and then I'll share it with you then. Bullshit. If I had hard, concrete, real breaking news on something as massive as an entire United States election was compromised, there is no way I would sit on that for a month and be like, hey, buy a ticket. The place holds 5,000 people. I mean, come on. None of this even makes any sort of sense. This guy is so delusional and needs so much help. It is not even funny. And the facts that Alex fucking Jones is sitting there going, oh, I was going to take my kids to the beach, but let me know what day it is because I'll plan my vacation around it. Are you fucking kidding me? Now, listen, you know my feelings on Alex Jones. Frank doesn't really love him. I didn't like the Sandy Hook bit thing. I think he really lost it there. But I feel like the guy is an entertainer. He's not to be taken seriously. I mean, he's pushing all vitamin powders and crazy shit. I mean, we sell shirts to kind of keep the lights on here. You know, you're never going to see me hawking like, take this, weed powder and you're going to be a patriot powder and all kinds of crazy shit that he puts. I mean, it's just insane. Just insane. And there's nothing wrong with endorsing a product, but there's a lot of vitamin shit in that guy's repertoire. But anyway, for him to be like, he doesn't even take it seriously. Like, him to say that, he knows this is like just pomp and circumstance. And the reason why I bring it up, this way is it bothers me a little bit because it's like, you should have more respect for your audience, You should have a bit more respect for your audience and to be like, oh, that's interesting, Mike. Let me know. I'm going to plan my video. Yeah, come on. I mean, look, if Mike Lindell wanted to come on this podcast, you better damn well believe we'd have him on. I think that would be entertaining as shit. But not for 1 second would I take my foot off the gas for the guy and sell out my audience, in between. It just never happened. It just never, ever, ever happened. So Alex, again, I don't know what the guy's doing. He's always a little nutty and off the rails a bit, but this time around, I don't know. I didn't love the take, but I honestly, I'm not mad at the guy. I just feel like he's not even buying it. Like, he's just kind of passing the time. We all have those shows where we're kind of like, yeah, I got to get through this. Sure, whatever. Like, whatever you're saying, fine. Whatever the deal is, okay. I'm with you. Whatever you're saying here. Believe me, I've had plenty of artists on this show where I want to talk about their classic album and they just want to mutter on the new piece of music that they're dishing out, and you got to sit there and go, oh yeah, okay, great, you got a new record, but let's talk about the thing that put you on the map for the last 30 years. You all got to kind of sit through that stuff, and to me, that's what Alex Jones was doing there with Mike Lindell. Let's talk about this Gwendolyn Berry. By the way, great name. I mean, phenomenal name. Gwendolyn Berry. That's awesome. Kill for a name like that. I got signed up with Anthony. Stinks. She's a U.S. hammer thrower. She turned away from the American flag as the national anthem played while she and two other athletes stood on the podium at an Olympic trials event this past Saturday, later saying that she was pissed that the Star-Spangled Banner played as she received her bronze medal. She qualified for her second U.S. Olympic team during the trials and shifted to face the stands rather than the flag before holding up a black shirt that read "Activist Athlete." We got a shot up here, courtesy of the New York Post, on our screen if you're watching the podcast, of Gwendolyn, hand on hip, very upset, very angry. Also not loving her lipstick choice. I don't know if you can see that there, but she's got kind of like a red lipstick with a black line in the middle. As I'm a huge Islander fan, and there's this Islander fan on Instagram that they've been making such a big deal about, and she paints her lips, one side's blue, one side's orange. I don't know what it is. It drives me crazy. I can't stand it. It's just, there's something about my OCD. I need one color lipstick. I don't like these multiple, you split it down the middle. It always looks wrong or uneven. I just kind of want to go like this to them. Like, you got something just like that. It drives me crazy. So this young lady's doing the same thing. Weirds me out a little bit. Don't love it. Anyway, she turns on the thing. Okay, a couple things here. I feel you can differ on your opinion. You could protest the anthem all you want. Look, we live in a country where freedom is beautiful. We have men and women who fight for our freedom, give up their lives. I'm eternally grateful to our military for what they do. But we live in a country with freedom of speech. You could burn that same flag, right? You could sit down during the anthem. Is it disrespectful? I think so. Can you do it? Yep. You can do both. You can absolutely do both. Let me X out this Discover card pop-up ad. No free ads on the show. Would I do it? No. Do I love it? No. Do I recognize people's right to do it? Yep. Do I think that it brings awareness to causes they're trying to bring awareness to? Yep. I mean, Colin Kaepernick certainly took a circuitous route to getting to where he needed to be, but he got there. The NFL is making some adjustments. Took a long time, but they got there. And, it's funny with the Kaepernick thing. I always thought the same thing. You had some people in the military that were like, screw that guy, this is disrespectful. You had some people in the military that were like, hey, I don't agree with what he's saying, but that's why I fight. So he can say that shit. So it was always kind of split on the whole Kaepernick thing. Here's what bothers me about this girl, though. She says, and I quote, "I feel like I was set up and they did it on purpose," commenting on the fact that the anthem was played during the medal ceremony. "I was pissed, to be honest," she said. "They had enough opportunities to play the national anthem before we got up there. I was thinking about what I should do. Eventually, I stayed there and I swayed. I put my shirt over my head," which she did eventually do. She had this athlete. So there's a lipstick. There's a shot of the lipstick if you're watching the podcast. Boy, that just, there's something so uncomfortable about that. It looks so uncomfortable to me. Again, I blame the Islanders for making that Islander girl. I know half of you were like, I don't know what you're talking about, Aunt. What's an Islander? It's a hockey thing. Big deal around here. But anyway, there she is holding up her activist shirt. Here's what bugs me about this. You're standing on the podium. You're at an Olympic event. They're giving you a medal for finishing. I mean, they kind of always play the anthem. Am I the only one that's like, how are you getting pissed off at this? Like forget the political nature of this, the freedom of speech, First Amendment rights aspect of it. Obviously she's an activist and, she's has some issues with how black people are handled in the country. Get all that, put that aside for a second. You're on the podium getting a medal. What do you think? What do you think they're playing? What do you think they're going to do? They play the anthem. That's what they do. I don't understand her getting upset, acting like they weren't going to do that. Now, supposedly she said that they played it ahead of time. The events, they said they played it every single day, so they happened to be late that day, I guess, whatever it was. But I don't know. I feel like since the beginning of time, event, medal ceremony, they turn and look at the anthem. They raise the flags in some instances. The Olympics, they always kind of put the flags up. I always kind of love that too, by the way. I always love how the winners flag and on the podium too. Hey, I stand a little higher than you. Yeah, just a little. I like that kind of stuff. I don't know. This seems, this girl to be like caught off guard, like they played the anthem. Like, well, yeah. What do you? This is like, to me, this is like going to a car wash and being like, I can't believe they put the big brushes on my car after the water hit it. And be like, well, yeah. Well, that's what happens. What'd you expect? What did you think they were gonna do? Just snap their fingers and it'll be magically there? I mean, she was way more upset than I feel like she should have been because they played the national anthem. Also, here's the other thing. And I get there's an argument of she's an athlete. This is what she does. This is the only way she's going to garner attention, because she was a lawyer or a receptionist or, you name it. Nobody would care. You're competing for an Olympic spot. You're competing to represent the United States of America. And you're upset over the anthem of the country? Kind of seems a little on the hypocritical side. Now, again, she's going to sit there and go, well, look, I don't like how, I don't like these issues and how these people are being treated, and I'm an athlete, and this is my arena to raise awareness, I can't argue with that. I really, really can't argue with that. But I feel like, there's other ways to go about it. That's just me. Again, she gets to handle it the way she is. Because you know what? She can throw a hammer like nobody's business, and your old pal Aunt can't. So we don't get to, exactly make those sort of distinctions. But to be like, I can't believe they play the national anthem. You were standing on a podium. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like going to a baseball game on bat day and being offended they handed you a bat. Like, there's certain things that occur in society that just happen. You got to be, ready for it, But I hate criticizing these things because I feel like sometimes, not for nothing, but the conservative people love to jump all over these and tell people how they should protest. You don't really get that choice, So again, do I love it? No. Is she a little hypocritical? Yes. Does she have a point? Because, like, what else is she going to do to raise her awareness for her thing? Yeah, it's a point. Yes. But to me, the thing that is undeniable here is the fact that she was upset that they played the anthem. I mean, that I could not get past. I just couldn't get past it. Because let me tell you something. You show up at Anthony's house on Sunday for dinner, you're getting macaroni. Like, I mean, it'll literally be like, I can't believe you served me macaroni, Anthony. I'm going to be like, what? It's Sunday. I'm Italian. Macaroni and a little bit too much wine. Then we should have a little nap afterwards, get up and complain about the day, some ice cream, and then you go to bed. Like, that's what happens in Aunt's place. You know what I'm saying? Now, is there cake involved? Yeah, sometimes. Are there nuts and fruits in the middle there? You better believe it. On a good Sunday, is there rice balls? Yes. But these are all pleasant surprises. At no point should anybody be totally caught off guard by any of this information. At absolutely no point whatsoever. So that's Gwendolyn Berry. I love her name more than I love her bit of surprise as the fact that she was sitting at a athletic competition for the Olympics on a podium and caught off guard by the fact that people decided to play the national anthem. Which, by the way, put your hand up, kneel down, sit down, knock yourself out. Knock yourself out to be like the gall of them to play the anthem. Like, they're going to play the anthem. I got news for you. If you go to the Olympics and you don't finish it first, guess what? You're going to be listening to some other country's anthem. That's kind of just the way it goes. So know what you're signing up for there, Gwendolyn. People were very upset at Toyota over the weekend. This was huge trending that Axios, that sounds funny to me now that I'm saying that. Axios did this whole investigative reporting. Now, see, this is where the left drives me crazy. Okay, just complain about the right, complaining about how people are protesting. They want to pick and choose. It doesn't work like that. This is where the left drives me crazy. This positioning and this witch hunt of Toyota leads companies in election objector donations. And they put, similar to fucking Mike Lindell and his stupid animations, they put this whole thing together showing what companies and how much they've donated to the Republicans who objected to certifying the 2020 election. Now, I just finished saying on the Mike Lindell segment that objecting to this election is utterly ridiculous with the amount of real factual information that was put out there. And please don't type in the comments, do your research. I am not going to read it. I skip right past those fucking comments. I've done the research. Shit ain't there. Rumors and horse shit, there's a plenty. Actual factual information, zero. Zero. So that's that. But getting back to this, there was a couple of Republicans, they objected to the election. Now they go back, this Axios, so they're going to investigate, like, who are these companies that are donating to these politicians? And they went and they put this thing, and they discovered that Toyota donated 37 times to these Republicans. I don't remember how many Republicans it was exactly, but it was only Republicans that objected to certifying the election. And they're framing this as like this grand selling out of our country, but you look at this thing, the Coke Industries, okay, we always know that they're on the right. Reynolds, American, the Reynolds Wrap people donated 3 times. Deere and Company, that's the John Deere thing. AT&T with 1 donation. Applied Research, 6 donations. Cubic Corp, 8 donations. Toyota, 37 donations. Here, and then everybody like, oh, of course, oh, this is so wrong. Oh, shame on Toyota. Give me a fucking break. Here's the thing with this. These companies donate to these politicians for a plethora of reasons. And to act like, when you position it like this, like I'm sure the Toyota folks were going to donate to these people. I'm sure they donated to these same people before this shit happened. I'm sure that if it wasn't the same exact Republicans in the same areas, the same seats, they were probably donating to them. Why? Because they have an agenda. It's their lobbying money. They probably need to get something across that is good for Toyota. And they could probably give a shit what the other things that these people are voting for. And that's kind of essentially the answer that Toyota gave, because after there was this huge dust up over the weekend, a Toyota spokesperson told Axios in an email, quote, "Based on our thorough review, we decided against giving to some members who, through their statements and actions, undermine the legitimacy of our elections and institutions." The spokesperson did not respond to a follow-up about the specific threshold for statements that crossed the line. So basically what they're saying is we didn't give to some, but we gave to others depending on what they said. But read between the lines, they have to get their shit done, and they don't give a shit what the other stuff is. And so they made their donations. You can do this for anything. And the Democrats are doing this for the Republicans right now. Oh, the Republicans are actually the ones voting to defund the police. Well, I understand what you're saying, because Biden put out this bill and it was this whole thing and there was $350 billion for the police and not one Republican voted for it. And it's not a great look for Republicans, but to say that they voted to defund the police is kind of like maneuvery positioning stuff. Now, do I think $350 billion would be good? I'll tell you what, the plan doesn't look all that bad. And I'm sure you ask any police officer out there, they'd like a little extra cash in their departments so that they can do their jobs well and maybe better. But to sit there and like when you position these statements like this, it's like, these things are complicated and you got to kind of pull back and look at the whole picture. Now, with the police thing, the Republicans, it just kind of feels like the Republicans are doing the shitty thing again where they're just not going to do what the other guy on the other side wants, which is shitty of the Republicans to do. And the Democrats do the same shit. So whatever. Okay. That's just shittiness on both sides. But with this, it's like people are like, I'm returning my Toyota. I'm selling my Toyota. Give me a break. I don't own a Toyota. I did at one point. It was a great car. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I'd buy a Toyota tomorrow if it was right for me. What do I give a shit? And here's why. All these companies give to all these people. All these people are all pieces of shit. If you have senator or representative in front of your name, as nice as you could probably be, you're kind of a piece of shit. That's just kind of the way it goes. So you could put this little thing out for any company, for anything. It's just a huge waste of time. You got these people out on Twitter like, not a good look. Not a good look, Toyota. It's not really a good look, Toyota. Give me a break. Go do something with your time. 37 times. Yeah, how about ask them, like, what will we really, like, it makes it seem like Toyota goes, yeah, this election was bad. Let's give to only these people. No. Toyota probably wants to take 10% off the emissions thing or God knows what little taxes their $5,000 donation is going to wind up saving them $3 million down the line. And that's exactly what some nerdy pencil pusher in the accounting and donating department, is thinking about when he's like, yeah, these people, we need to grease these wheels in order to make a smidge more money. Fucking Toyota. If Toyota could make $6,000 off a $5,000 donation, they would do it. It's a company. It is a business. Toyota, I feel like, would, as a company, collectively sell out all their grandmas to make $47 more a year. That is just the way capitalism and business works these days. So give me a break. This whole, so shame on you. Fuck out of here. Shame on you. Shame on you for wasting everybody's friggin' time. Stupid horseshit. Driving me crazy over here. Can't stand it. I'll tell you what, the Russians are coming. Remember a couple episodes when I got all super upset about stupid Ted Cruz and his dumb face talking about that commercial where he made that poor girl feel bad? I forget if she was a lesbian or her parents were a lesbian. And he was sitting there acting like, oh, look at Russia's commercial. It's better than the United States' commercial. They're so much tougher. How's your woke army down? Fuck you, Ted Cruz. Stupid dick. Can't stand him. Sells out our own army to make a point against woke people. He is such a piece of shit. I can't stand him. But let's take a second and look at this guy's TikTok that he put out. All right. This guy is no joke. Serge Morge is his name. First of all, great name. Serge Morge. That's phenomenal. This guy supposedly sitting in minus 10 degrees Celsius weather here. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, I should say, he's got a pair of underwear on. He got no shirt. He got no pants. He's sitting in snow. So I don't know how cold it is, but he's definitely sitting in snow. So that gives you some idea. And he's got a huge, beautiful antique bowl that I can only assume was handed down to him generations by generations. I mean, did it come from Home Goods? I guess it's possible. I don't know if they have Home Goods in Russia. Did it come from Russian Home Goods? Whatever that version of theirs thing is over there? Maybe. But I like to think that his grandma passed that down from generation to generation. Okay? I like to think that certain family members of his shoved that bowl up their ass to keep the Nazis from getting it, if I could quote Pulp Fiction for a second. Point is this. He's got this beautiful bowl and this huge spoon, and it's some sort of rice orzo. I don't know what it is. And he's literally taking a scoop out and feeding his pet bear. For those that are listening, we're looking at a huge, bald, tough, half-naked Russian sitting in snow feeding a fucking bear. And he goes, welcome to Russia. That was his thing. I got to be honest with you, smidge more respect for the Russians today. Those sons of bitches can take some cold. Also, they don't seem to have any sort of fear against bears. Now, we don't see the full bear. So is this some sort of super duper Disney Michael Bay animatronic shit? I mean, maybe, but that looks like a real ass fucking bear to me. You know what I'm saying? Can you train a bear? Sure you can. Is this one trained? Expertly, it seems. Would I do this? Never in a million years. I'm not going to lie to you. If you substituted that bear for my 6-year-old son, I still wouldn't do this shit. I would still be worried he'd flip out and bite me. Okay? That's the worry I have to live with every day when it comes to dinner. And also, I wouldn't be sitting there feeding him in my underwear in snow. Okay? Because that shit is cold. That is super cold. This is a guy that I would never, ever want to run into in a alley somewhere. He could be the nicest gentleman you've ever met. Guy could be donating money like crazy. He could be making pottery based off his grandmother's 17,000-year-old pot that was handed down generation to generation until it went in his uncle's ass. Through the war, came out, they saved it. Now he's making it, sending it over to Russian Home Goods and regular Home Goods here in the U.S., and donating portions of it to homeless charities. That could be him. And I would still feel uneasy walking down a quiet alley and seeing this guy coming the other way. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. This is a level of tough that your old pal Ant can only see on TikTok and never actually fully experience himself. Just know that. Where the hell is Jsabs and Frankie C? Well, let's address that right now before we head on out of here and take off. They were at what I can only assume was a lovely event. I haven't gotten a full report. I'm sure we will get a full report from them eventually. But they were at a lovely event today, put on by the Star Legacy Foundation called Swing for the Stars. This is a golf outing. And if you've been with us for a long time, some people know this about Jsabs, some people don't. She had a baby, Diana Hope. She lost the baby. Star Legacy Foundation does a lot of work, research, raising awareness for stillborn babies. And they had a big event here in New York on the island that Jsabs was integral on putting together. You probably noticed that she hasn't been on a lot of our episodes lately, and she was on top of being a wonderful mother to her 2 children, and doing this podcast. Actually, let's be honest, her 2 children and her husband, so that's 3 children on top of being a loving mother to 3. If we're going to be really honest, you could probably throw me and Frank into the mix. So she's literally raising 5 people right now, and doing this podcast, and organizing this wonderful event with the Star Legacy Foundation, the New York Metro chapter. So that's where Frankie C was, and Jsabs. That's why they haven't joined us on this episode for today. Now, let's be honest. What Jsabs is doing is incredible. It's for a wonderful cause, Star Legacy. It's obviously near and dear to her heart, near and dear to mine as well. What Frank is doing is literally abandoning all responsibility to play golf. I would love to say that he did this all for Janine and in the memory of Diana Hope, Janine's baby that's no longer with us. But if I could be totally honest, this selfish bastard really doesn't care and just wants to play golf all the time. Do I wish he was a better person? You better believe I do. Do I wish I had to be the guy to deliver you this awful news about who Frank really is? No. I've known the guy for 30 years. I wish he was better. He's just not. He was like, oh, we're going to go play golf. And I said to him, oh, are you doing that thing for Diana and Janine? And he goes, I don't give a shit who it's for. I just got to get out of the house and play some golf. I don't care about anything else. They said golf here this day, and I'm fucking going. So that's Frank. Again, everybody loves him. I get it. I wish he was better. But I bring it up because there's a chance to donate to this wonderful cause. There's a link in the description for this episode. So if you've ever been entertained by anything that we've ever done, especially Jsabs, and you have an extra 10, 20 bucks in your pocket, it would go to an incredible cause that is, like I said, is obviously near and dear to her heart and mine. Frank's, again, let's not get into it. There's no reason to drag it out. He's a piece of shit. But, again, if you disagree with Frank, maybe you can find $10 more in your pocket to donate to this cause. It's a wonderful event. I don't even know how much they've donated or gotten so far. I know today was a big part of it. Yeah, 39 grand on a way to a $50,000 goal. So there's obviously some more work to be done there. If you have the means to do so, please donate it. I know that Jsabs, if I can speak for her, would appreciate it. If I could also speak for her, if she were here right now, I'm sure she'd be saying, is there a fully enclosed glass bathroom that I could pee in so you can all watch me? I'm sure she would say that. And I'm sure she would say this was important to her. And thank you for the donation. So obviously, big fans of Star Legacy and what they do. I'm obviously big fan of Jsabs. I mean, I wouldn't put up with her bullshit if I wasn't. Same goes for Frank. Obviously, big fan of his as well, despite his attitude on and outlook on life. But again, if you could donate, it would mean the world to me. I would be forever grateful. $5, $10, whatever you could do, it would be very much appreciated. In fact, and I rarely ever do this, because your old pal Ant's a bit of a piece of shit himself, I'd rather you buy a t-shirt. Normally, in this particular instance, I'm going to make an exception and say if you want to support the show, and you're about to make a merch perch, put that cart down and go on over here to the link in the description of this episode and donate to the Star Legacy Foundation. Obviously, they are much better than I and could really use it, and I thank you for that. Thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. I miss Jsabs and Frank endlessly, but it was kind of fun to do the one-on-one with you. I appreciate that so much. And we'll catch you on the next episode. And again, if you could donate, thank you. I really, really, truly do appreciate it.